Guys, I tell you what, even though this finale was definitely stirring, it left me more shook than anything. Guys, my name is Zack, and I love discussing cinema and all things entertainment. I really do appreciate you guys clicking on the thumbnail today, and I really hope you enjoy your stay, because on the docket today is No Time to Die. Yes, this is the final movie starring Daniel Craig as James Bond 007, arguably the role that made his entire career. And yes, once you finish the movie, no spoilers of course, but you will understand that this is absolutely Daniel Craig's final film as James Bond. And this film, unlike the last two installments, was not directed by Sam Mendes. Instead, it was filmed by the more than capable Cary Joji Fukunaga. And of course, surrounding Craig himself is a stellar supporting cast, headlined by Rami Malek as our villain. And guess what, guys? James Bond is actually retired in this film. He's enjoying quite the tranquil life in Jamaica after leaving active service for MI6. But his peace is short-lived, as his old CIA friend Felix Leiter, played once again by Jeffrey Wright, shows up and asks him for help. And the mission to rescue a kidnapped scientist turns out to be far more treacherous than expected, leading Bond on the trail to a mysterious villain played by Rami Malek, who's armed with a dangerous new technology. So without any further ado, let's get into the good stuff about No Time to Die, because honestly, there's a lot. And No Time to Die had a few very difficult tasks actually going into production. Chief among them, of course, giving Daniel Craig a proper send-off that he deserved. But unlike previous Bond films, they're still trying to tie in the previous 4 installments with Craig as our title character, and they certainly succeeded. I had such a blast with No Time to Die. It was so awesome. Not only is it a really great final movie for a series, but I also believe that this is a perfect film to show a brand new Bond fan because it has a little bit of everything. But let's just get right to the man of the hour. Daniel Craig is once again phenomenal as Bond. I can't believe people were judging the casting choice of Daniel Craig 15 years ago just because of his appearance. Blonde hair and blue eyes still apparently does not equal Bond to some people. Still, in God's year 2021, I thought we were past that, but there's still people who aren't convinced. And with this film, Daniel Craig continues to prove every single one of those people wrong, because he is, in my mind, the greatest Bond ever. He was so charming with every single scene he had, surprisingly dropping in a few dad jokes with the typical Bond one-liners, which I will say, as a dad joke junkie, makes me happy. It's really quite remarkable how dedicated to the project he is. It is well documented that some of these stunts in the past have injured him on set, and they are quite spectacular. Chief among them being the trailer shot that you see of Bond jumping off the bridge in our opening chase scene set in an Italian mausoleum, which was exhilarating, might I add. And that's the case with the rest of this action in No Time to Die. They are exhilarating, white-knuckled, adrenaline-fueled, whatever other adjective you want to use to describe it. That's the whole experience with No Time to Die. My words simply cannot do them justice. You just have to go to the theater to feel them. This is a super hard PG-13 rating, that's for sure. And this brings me to the direction of Cary Joji Fukunaga, whose work I actually was not overly familiar with entering this auditorium. But I just want to see any other projects they get their hands on from now on. This film is seeping with gorgeous cinematography from the opening frame. As I mentioned, the opening chase sequence in Italy is wonderfully helmed. There's also a brilliant chase sequence in a foggy forest in Norway that honestly gave me Insomnia vibes. Yeah, you guys remember Insomnia, the Christopher Nolan film? Still one of the most underrated films in his filmography, but just the environment really reminded me a lot of the shots in Insomnia. And of course, you have the big action finale, which has such a vast scope and atmosphere, it can't help but take your breath away. And the choreography of every little moment is so careful and meticulous. Fukunaga with No Time to Die definitely proves himself to be a fantastic director. I cannot wait to see what else he does. And all these actors around Daniel Craig do some tremendous work across the board. Léa Seydoux in particular gets quite the huge adjustment from Spectre. By comparison, in No Time to Die, there's so much more interesting character work for her to sink her teeth into as Madeline Swan, and she has confirmed her spot as my second favorite Bond girl, only behind Vesper Lynd. She was so great in her second straight Bond film in a row. She proves herself. She's such an underrated actress, guys. I really would love to see her get more work very soon. Which, speaking of underrated actresses, two of them make their debut in the Bond franchise with this. For example, I gotta talk about Craig's co-star from Knives Out, Ana de Armas, because she was such a cool character. Although I definitely wish there was more of her throughout the film, it's a very brief appearance, just a heads up. Let's just say if you've seen the trailer, you've seen the gist of what her character is and what she does. Nevertheless, she was a total badass. I really dug her performance. As was Lashana Lynch, who was excellent in this movie. I don't think this is necessarily a spoiler. She might have mentioned this somewhere in the trailer, but it's revealed that through Bond's retirement, her character assumes the moniker of 007, which leads to quite the comedic chemistry between her and Daniel Craig, I'll say. Watch out for the discussion they have about the numbers 007 being just that. Numbers. So fantastic. I'd love to see more work for Lashana Lynch as well down the line. I'm telling you guys, this supporting cast was up to the task for this grand finale. Ralph Fiennes as M once again is dripping with menacing authority. Ben Whishaw as a nervous wreck as Q. Naomie Harris as Moneypenny gets some fun moments here and there. I mean, everybody. Christoph Waltz. Oh my gosh, Christoph Waltz. Reprising his villainous turn from Spectre, albeit briefly, but you still feel his presence and his influence throughout a good chunk of No Time to Die. But speaking of villains, yeah, let's address Rami Malek, because in past reviews on my channel, especially for the little things, I've had some things to say about Rami Malek. I've noticed he's been playing a lot of very similar characters ever since his big Oscar win for Bohemian Rhapsody. He is more than serviceable as the main villain of this piece though, which I will say does throw in some clever 180s and twists to the Bond villains of old, almost paying tribute to them. But I gotta say, he honestly, after thinking about it, he kind of felt like he was playing second fiddle to the main crux of this story. That is until the third act, when he actually does see Bond for the first time. And that's where we get his trailer monologue of his summary of Bond's accomplishments, so I don't think that's necessarily a spoiler. But none of this is to say that he's not important to the story at all. I know he is. That first scene, which is a flashback, will tell you all you need to know about him within 5 minutes and why he's here. He does appear very menacing, especially in that moment, guys. No Time to Die is nothing short of a finale that exceeds all expectations. It is so well acted, so well helmed. The action scenes are all super exciting. The only couple of issues I have with this film are nitpicks, honestly. To add on to Ana de Armas' involvement, I wish she had more time with this film. But I honestly wasn't the biggest fan of this film's opening titles. They kind of felt a little bit generic compared to a Casino Royale or a Skyfall. And Billie Eilish's No Time to Die is a good song altogether. By itself, it's a good song. Does it reach the level of Adele's Skyfall? No, not even close. And yeah, I'm really gonna make a lot of people mad when I say this, but if you want a hot take, here it is. I don't necessarily think Billie Eilish was the right singer for this film. Don't get me wrong, guys. I think Billie Eilish is fantastic. Her songs are really great. I just personally think she was kind of miscast singing this song for a grand finale for Daniel Craig. And shout out to my buddy Larry of Chili Boy Productions here on YouTube, and I totally agree with him on this, but he had this point to make. Like, imagine if you put a singer in there with the passion of a Kelly Clarkson, for example. And I think Kelly Clarkson would have been the perfect choice to sing this final Bond song for Daniel Craig, because that would have just sold the epicness of this moment from the get-go. If anybody knows what I'm talking about with Kelly Clarkson, you know she sings with a lot of passion. But I guess the epicness is what the phenomenal score by Hans Zimmer was for. Can that guy do any wrong? And about this next point, I should give you all a heads up, but I'm sure most of you are aware of this. The movie is 2 hours and 43 minutes long, which I certainly felt at a couple of points, unfortunately. Even though every story beat feels important and you feel the stakes of the moment, I feel like the film has a tendency to meander. Very similar to Logan, which is a film that I loved. If you trimmed out some of the fat in No Time to Die, similarly speaking, I think you would have had a much better paced film. But with all that being said, the last thing I'll say is this, my friends. I alluded to it earlier, but Daniel Craig, I don't think there will be another Bond quite like him. He is my personal favorite James Bond actor, and he has thrown his freaking all into this franchise. I think he deserves all the credit in the world, and without spoiling anything, I will say that this was a very emotionally satisfying conclusion for his iteration of this character. I'm going to give No Time to Die an A-. If there's one word I could use to describe this film with the simplest of terms, epic. Please, guys, I urge you all to make an effort to go and see this on the biggest screen possible as soon as you possibly can. You will not regret it. Of course, this is all just my opinion. What are your guys' thoughts on No Time to Die? Have you seen it yet? Are you looking forward to seeing it? And my question is this, guys. Now that we've seen all 5 of Daniel Craig's Craig's Bond films, how would you rank them? For me, Casino Royale is still my favorite, for sure. Then I think I would put Skyfall, then No Time to Die, and then you have Spectre and Quantum of Solace at the end. Because where else were you expecting me to put Quantum of Solace? Because that's just disappointing. But go ahead and sound off down in the comment section below. Let's go ahead and make some noise and have a really fun discussion, guys. Because I love doing this. I love creating this content, discussing all new things, movies, and entertainment with you guys. If these are topics that sound appealing to you, then if I were you, I would consider hitting that subscribe button down below as hard as you possibly can. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers here on the channel, which I'm still floored by. It's absolutely free to you guys, and it's really, really beneficial to help me get this content out there, as is hitting that thumbs up button on your way out. That would be tremendous, ladies and gentlemen. And as per usual, stay tuned for more exciting content hitting this channel very, very soon. Look out for my new reviews of some great TV shows like Marvel's What If and Netflix's Midnight Mass. I'll also be continuing my Halloween playlist. Sometime early this week, I'll be looking at Hellraiser. And I gotta say, next weekend looks pretty stacked for the movie theater. We got The Last Duel, which looks to be equally epic, as well as Halloween Kills, which should be an interesting time, to say the least. But you guys are the best. Again, I cannot thank you guys enough for your support of the channel. With all that being said, back talk, commence!